Hello everybody. Welcome back to the channel. Welcome back for another video. Hope you're all doing well. Hope you're all doing great. Hope you're all doing absolutely fantastic. And that you're remembering to drink water and that you're all having a great day. Don't forget to follow me on Facebook and on TikTok. There are links in the description below. I can nearly assure you this is going to be quite a weird video. We get these every once in a while. Usually we have like a flurry of like just good news, but there are some days where the news is good. Don't get me wrong. It's just you'll see, and I'll see if we're able to actually get to all the topics as well, just because there's a lot of really weird things happening. First up, in extremely popular news, the discussions surrounding the United States buying up Bitcoin continue to increase. If you missed about 2 weeks ago, we had someone who told us 2 weeks ago that in the coming weeks, we would see basically Washington begin to accumulate Bitcoin. On top of that, there's still a bunch of discussions apparently happening with individual states as far as buying Bitcoin. I believe that there are 2 out of the, I want to say 23 or so that we heard about, 2 that have said no completely to the Bitcoin reserve thing. There was no information given other than the articles basically talking about, yep, now's not the time to do it. However, other states are continuously, as far as we've heard, moving forward. So this continues to also be a large chunk of the news, at least as of late. The popular news, and I'm going to explain what happened, then what people thought happened, and what's probably still going to happen. The first part, Kentucky has passed HB 701, a law securing the right to self-custody Bitcoin. This was signed by the governor. This legislation guarantees individuals full control over their Bitcoin without limitations. I know that sounds nonsensical because a couple of years ago, we had situations where individual states or even other countries began to announce that they were making laws that would allow people to actually hold their Bitcoin. Now, the ridiculous part is that it should go without saying that if you hold it and you own it and you mined it or you purchased it, it's definitely yours. But in the world where this is a brand new thing and there aren't laws for it, these things have to actually be written. It's kind of like this was like 3 or 4 years ago in China. There was some kind of a law where some person had their Bitcoin stolen. So they said, and they proved that it was stolen from the other person. The problem is that there was nothing in the law that said like that person taking Bitcoin from you was illegal because Bitcoin wasn't in the law. So the court system literally had to go like, is this bad? And then they made a ruling that said, hey, well, that guy bought it, so it's his. You have to give it back to him. And that set the precedent. So in weird news, yeah, they created the right to self-custody. This basically means you are legally able to hold your crypto. If you mine your crypto, it's yours. Like, it's kind of all these weird things because the other direction would have been, well, you can't self-custody. And it's now against the law and you have to give those coins to a bank and you can't hold it by yourself. It says the step underscores Kentucky's dedication to blah, 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 as Bitcoin grows, long power is fantastic. What people thought happened, because this was quite popular news. A lot of people were announcing, at least on different websites, that Kentucky had completely passed their Bitcoin Reserve Act law. All people saw was a bill called HB 701 was passed regarding Bitcoin, and a number of websites began to announce Kentucky's the first state, Kentucky's the first one, Kentucky's the blah, blah, blah. And what's happening is, like I told you, the third step is that they're still working on it. Apparently, as far as I remember, I think there are 3 states right now that it's passed by many different hurdles. I believe Kentucky is one of them. And the last step is to be like one last vote on it. I think the 3rd or 4th vote. And then should that finish and go through, then the law is actual law. And Kentucky and the other states can then legally begin to buy Bitcoin however they actually planned on doing it. So yeah, we haven't heard a little bit about this in about 2 or 3 weeks or so. It was news every single day. I expected we would get to around 30 different states by the end of the year. The most we heard was 23. Apparently 2 of them have opted out. And to throw it, back into the ring, April and May, once again, are meant to be the months where we get news and information about this. Let's see if it actually ends up happening, but once again, everyone seems incredibly optimistic about the cryptocurrency market over the course of the next 3 months. Yeah, so that's the good news, not the news that people were expecting, but apparently coming up soon. They will be voting on the actual, big shebang. Okie dokie. Let's move on. So, I told you it was going to be a bit of a weird video. Not everything has to happen, and I think that's something that people in general need to know. Like, for instance, you know the movie Titanic. Everyone knows Titanic from 1997. Do you know that there were at least 3, if not more, at least 3 other Titanic movies that came out before that one? You want to know the even crazier part? This is what I mean by not everything has to be done. You know that the first ever Titanic movie, the first ever one, came out weeks after the ship went down? Yeah, you can Google it. And I think it might even be on YouTube as well. It's a literal silent film. It looks completely insane. There's even a portion where you see people sitting in a cafe just kind of throwing their heads back with glasses in their hands as if it's supposed to this is what rich people do, to just sit there laughing and kind of, I guess maybe rich people do. Anyway, the point is, yeah. So this is also very similar to, remember when the entire FTX fiasco was going on? And I think this was done because a lot of companies were trying to prove their innocence. So there were all these things going on where people were trying to make documentaries. And I mean, they were announcing the documentaries of FTX and its collapse 3 days after it happened. And I was like, no one really cares. And also no one's asking for this. In a shocking display of not everything needs to happen, apparently someone is making and has already made and is going to be releasing a featured documentary about Vitalik Buterin, and it premieres on the 15th of April. The documentary will capture Buterin's early life as a teenage programmer, and will also have Ethereum's journey over the past 10 years that will dominate the film. It's not that these things shouldn't be in a film or a documentary, but absolutely no one's asking for them. It's kind of like all those live action Disney movies. When I was younger, animation, wow, colors, cool. No one's asking for Snow White. No one asked for a sequel to The Lion King. It's just one of those. I think people think that they come up with projects and they're like, this is gonna make it. People definitely want to see this. It's did you ever see, there was a thing years ago, well, actually there's 2 of them. Remember the first movies about Facebook and Zuckerberg? There was an interview where he said, he was like, I had hoped that people would make a documentary about me, or a movie about me when I was 60 or 70. He's like, I didn't think that they'd make one when I was still in my 20s, and it was completely, So I feel like Ethereum's been around a while, but not like, let's make a documentary about the past 10 years because Ethereum has only been around for the last 10 years. A featured documentary about Vitalik Buterin is set to premiere on the 15th of April, according to film producer's latest post. It will be available on Apple TV and Prime Video, which is the worst streaming platform ever. Prime doesn't work. It doesn't move. It's slow. It's so, and like, it's crazy because Amazon's like the richest company. You would assume that Prime would be like, no, Prime is absolute garbage. Apple TV is incredible. If you don't have Apple TV, try and get like a free trial or something like that. The shows on there are great. Severance is incredible. Something for Mankind, I forgot exactly what it's called, is also great. Foundation is, if you haven't watched Foundation's in Apple TV. Oh my gosh, what's the other one? Silo? If you haven't, oh my gosh, Apple TV has great programming. Amazon Prime is just like literal doo-doo. It's really, really weird. And apparently they're taking pre-orders. It's cool. Fantastic. This also was surprisingly, for whatever reason the Lord has given us, also popular news. And cool. Whoa, a documentary. I can't wait to not watch that. Like, give us this, like, when Ethereum goes over 10 to 15,000. Like, when we hear that, like, national banks are using, like, why not? And I say this anyway. The point is, I have a lot to say on this. If you couldn't tell, cool. April 15th. I can't not wait for this. Cool. Okie dokie. Let's move on. People should really learn to stop panicking because I don't know what's happening to a lot of people. So Ripple, the company, is creating a stablecoin. They've already created said stablecoin, but they're minting it in different intervals. Very similar to like Bitcoin and Ethereum ETF inflows. If people don't hear about something every single day, they kind of assume that it's disappeared or it's not working. This was a problem years ago in the cryptocurrency space where like we kind of had like crazy hype cycles because people wouldn't react to anything happening in crypto unless someone went onto Twitter and announced that something spectacular happened. So we have a lot of times, it's similar to like Tether buying a Bitcoin. If Tether doesn't announce it all the time, people forget that it happens and or they assume that they're done with it. So along this journey and every other stablecoin's journey, it's just that a lot of people are new here and aren't paying attention to like how the game actually works. So when a stablecoin launches, all of the stablecoin isn't automatically there, which I saw a lot of people announcing and talking about on Twitter, and it was really cringe because, you know, it's cool that you like XRP. I got it. Samesies. But the other problem is that like at least try and understand what you're talking about. There's constantly this thing on Twitter where people are like, XRP is going to $900 overnight. You're going to blink and you're going to miss it. And it's like, no, that would imply that the world's economy has completely collapsed into itself. The US dollar is worth less than a grain of sand. And all money has flown into XRP in an 18-hour period. You know, we might get there in the future, but besides that, no. So even when Tether was created, the first couple of creations or mintings of Tether were in the millions of dollars. There's usually always, you have to figure out exactly, what's the word? The actual demand for it. You have to make sure that everything is working properly. And then you have to slowly mint these things and bring them into circulation. Because Ripple did not instantaneously, really, I'm not joking, didn't instantaneously create a 50 billion Ripple coin, stable coin dollars. Everyone was like, well, nothing's happening. And it's like, no, just give things time. It's so frustrating that everyone... I know you're new here because I can tell you're... you want everything so quick, and that's not how anything on this planet works, nonetheless, with finance. So the news is, if you're not looking at the screen, it says Ripple has resumed the minting of its dollar-pegged stablecoin called RLUSD. It's either Ripple US dollar or real US dollar. I've heard both said before. After a 7-day pause. Oh no! 7 whole days. I guess Ripple's done. I guess the company's bankrupt. I guess nobody wants to use it. I guess there's no demand. Like, what are you talking about? Like, it's the same exact thing with MicroStrategy. What is this thing about like 7 days that everyone thinks is so important? When MicroStrategy was like, we're going to take a pause and not buy any Bitcoin. And then they did it 7 days later. That's not a pause. That's a week. A pause is like, if Ripple had created stablecoins in January, and then we didn't hear anything until like the end of May, I would go, oh gosh, that's a little awkward. But no, this is just how it works. According to data from the Ripple stablecoin tracker, the blockchain payments firm added 6.5 million new stablecoins into circulation. The latest release underscores its strategic blah, 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 blah. Cool. So, not to scare anyone, but they're probably going to make more. And then what's also going to happen is like about 7 or 8 days later, they're also going to make more. Possibly by the time, this is the scariest part, by the time we get to the end of summer, they might have 100 million to 150 million stablecoin on the market. I know it's quite terrifying. So take the news how you will, but yeah, this is also constantly being talked about. I understand what's the word? Being impatient, but you guys got to give it a rest. There's just too much. It's kind of like how I mentioned in the other video. I was like, all this stuff that we see happening, this was, and once again, like the end, I was like, only 12 weeks have passed by in the year, right? 4 weeks in January, 4 weeks in February, 4 weeks in March. And I was like, everyone just assumed in the first 3 weeks we'd get to a $7 million Bitcoin, $38 XRP, and then everyone can go, cool, I'm rich, and then walk away. And it's like, yeah, well, at least, listen, at least everyone who's here is getting to know exactly what a cycle feels like. Because, we have ups and downs, as you might have imagined, but also like, yeah, things don't happen overnight. That's the Ripple continues to do the thing that they said they were going to do. I know it's really scary that, they're putting all their plans in motion. I think the world is going to cave into itself when they announce that they're going public. Because people will be like, well, where'd that come from? Are you going public now? Is it tomorrow? XRP is going to $7 billion tomorrow. Just when it's like, if they announce that they're going public in December, people are going to have a conniption. They're not going to know how to like take it because you got to wait. That's how paperwork works. Okie dokie. Let's move on. Also for some reason, we're on like a European kick right now. The last couple of days have had a lot of like European crypto news. Okay, cool. Find it. Apparently, Spain's second largest bank, BBVA, has announced its new trading service for Spanish customers, as one would assume. Rolling out after receiving the mandatory MiCA license, BBVA's new trading service, available by its mobile application, will allow users to buy, sell, and manage other Bitcoin and Ethereum transactions by it. Is that English? And manage other Bitcoin and Ethereum transactions by it. Okay. Notably, the trading service launch for these two cryptocurrencies, ETH and BTC, by market cap comes as BBVA wraps up its multi-year-long regulatory formalities with Spain's financial regulator, the Comisión Nacional del Mercado de Valores. Fantástico. So, cool. Yeah. Spain's second largest bank is now apparently allowing people to buy, sell, hold, and trade crypto. We had news about, for those of you who missed it, BlackRock has created Bitcoin ETFs within the European Union. What was the other European news that we got? I don't remember. There's been a lot of it. There's been like every single day there's kind of been something. So Yeah, cool. It was the German stock exchange? Yes, the German stock exchange is now working with institutions to begin custodying crypto and a bunch of other kinds of things like that. So, yeah, this happens all the time. This isn't new. I mean, it's interesting in that we continue to see institutions get into the space. I told you in another video, wishful thinking. I don't know what it's going to take for more normal people to get into this market and understand that crypto's like actually taking over the world. But I guess we'll get there once we pass by $1 million per coin. But it should be clear to all of you that something spectacularly, amazingly, and crazy is happening, because every single bank around the world is like getting into it. If you also missed a couple of months, this is like a month ago as well. People were looking through SEC filings, and we found out all these like gigantic banks hold at least $150 million worth of Bitcoin. So it's clear where the market is heading, and all the rich people trying to buy it. It's just more of a, I wish more people really got it, but that's just the world we live in. That's the Spain's second largest bank is officially in crypto. And this was not very popular news. Crazy, right? Yeah, like the really big stuff, like the second largest bank in a country is into crypto. But we got Kentucky being able to hold crypto and Vitalik Buterin's documentary. Yeah, that's that news. And yeah, let's move on. So I'm going to try and be nice here. I think I can usually do nice pretty okay. Over the years, the cryptocurrency space has had many ups and downs. And many of those ups and downs came from either regulators or banks, or people ruling over countries in some sort of manner. I remember saying around 2018, the countries that adopt crypto earliest will benefit the most. Of course, this is once again rose-colored glasses, me assuming that corruption wasn't a thing, millions of years ago. The problem is, or the issue is, a lot of countries did adopt crypto relatively early or made cryptocurrency regulations. And there are a lot of people in these countries who are like really well off now, because these countries told their citizens back in 2017, early 2018, just be cautious. Learn about the cryptocurrency space. What country was it? It was somewhere in Southeast Asia. I don't remember which one. If you can remember, tell me. There was one in Southeast Asia. I'm not joking. They made on their SEC's website, they made a whole section that you could click through and learn about crypto. The point was, they said this is a brand new space. So they want to give the public as much information as the government has about all of these things. So you could learn about Ethereum, Bitcoin, XRP, blockchain, really, they had the whole rundown. And at the very end, it was like not a test, but it was like, like page by page by page. And at the very end, it basically said, use this information and do with it what you will. If you decide to get into crypto, you now have information. If you don't, cool. You're more well informed. And I remember saying in a video, I was like, can you imagine your country doing that? That's not really usually a thing. A number of countries, however, chose evil, for those of you who don't know, chose to decide to make sure that not only would they lie to their citizens or their public, as it were, but they would also make sure actively that people within their country could not get into crypto. This happened across multiple different countries, but we're going to hone in, as this news story is somewhere in Africa. In that, remember years ago, there was a podcast and there was this guy from Africa. I forgot exactly which country, so I have to generalize. Forgive me. There was a guy somewhere in Africa, and he was saying that he was he found out about Bitcoin, and he was like, this is amazing. He found out about it when it was a couple $100. Think about that. And he went to his friends, his family, and you're trying to tell everyone, we have a way to get away from the old system. We don't have to worry about inflation, nonetheless, hyperinflation. We can send money between ourselves. And he said every single time that he told anyone about this, people like reeled back. They recoiled and they were like, what are you talking about? It's illegal. Every single person kept on telling him that what he was doing was wrong. It was shameful. It was illegal. He should know better. So finally, he called. He contacted some office and said, is Bitcoin illegal? And they said, no, sorry. The central bank wants Bitcoin to be illegal, but it's not illegal. He went back to all of his friends and none of them believed him. They thought he was just trying to scam them in some sort of way. That's what propaganda does to people. The problem is, imagine if, whatever country that might have been, the government had taken a different stance and said, hey, there's this new thing. If you're looking to get into it, please watch out. But it is legal. You can get into it. It's for this actual purpose. We'd probably have a good extra 100, at least 100,000 people in that country who would have made a good 6 figures and or 7 figures after all of these years. The other part has directly facing us is that over the years, a lot of these countries in general, instead of actually figuring out a way to think further ahead and go, what if we were the first country to adopt it? What if we began mining it early? What if we, imagine, in this case, Nigeria. Imagine if Nigeria 12 years ago had adopted crypto in some form or fashion, had begun mining it, educating their citizens about it. How many people in Nigeria would be wealthy now? How many of these people would have purchased real estate, would have been able to help other friends and family actually get into this space? Nigeria, the last 2 or 3 years, has been the center of very negative discussions within crypto because of one gigantic thing. Remember how I told you years ago, I knew that there was something was amiss everywhere around the world when Coinbase was getting in trouble, Binance, Kraken, Gemini. And I was like, I don't think that a cryptocurrency exchange on purpose would make sure to do something illegal. Think about it this way. You have a business. That business is worth $67 billion. Not million, billion with a B. The thing that you're doing, whatever you're selling, is beginning to take off. You decide you want to open up different offices around the world. Do you just simply go and buy an office and then go, yeah, I have an office. I work here now. Or with your gigantically rich company, do you go to regulators and then you work with regulators so that they know that you're in the country? Also, would you just willingly make sure that you did something wrong to make sure that that country or regulators had any reason to say something negative about you? The answer for those of you who don't know is no. You would not do that because you're not an idiot, because you have a multi-billion-dollar company that you're trying to get flourish. So when we heard that all these companies kept on getting in trouble, I was like, this is really, really weird. The moldy cherry on top of all of this, the moldy cherry on top, came from Nigeria. For those of you who don't know, this was last year or the year before. Out of nowhere, Nigeria claimed that Binance and workers in Binance within the country who had worked with regulators non-stop were laundering money. And then at some point it became they were doing other crimes. And this was illegal and this was happening. And I was like, from Binance? I don't think that Binance would actively do that. And then the legend goes, this actually happened. They took one of the highest workers for Binance in Nigeria into what they call custody for like 500 days too long. You can go look up that story yourself because it gets a little bit intense. But this is where the rest of this story leads us. And I saw this and it was almost, the word's not a joke. I could have never thought that anyone would even think of remotely saying this again out loud. Nigeria's government has reaffirmed their openness to crypto businesses. Despite their ongoing legal battle with Binance and it says the controversial, no, it's not controversial, it's messed up, detention of the exchange's executive known as Tigran Jambaryan. The first part is, we're going to get there. The first part is that the Nigerian government, we found out through Changpeng Cao and a number of other people, had been texting people from Binance. It was like, okay, you can get him back if you give us $3 million. And I remember that video as well because I was like, they can't even do that correctly. You don't ask $3 million? That's the cost of a home in Manhattan. They didn't even say like 57 million, 125 million, like some like Dr. Evil kind of, $3 million. Then when this guy, after months, finally went free, they were like, oh, actually, now we want more money. And it's like, the statement from Nigeria's information minister, his name is Mohammed Idris, highlights the country's commitment, they say, to regulating rather than eliminating crypto operations. You know what happened? Like many people in history, they basically realized that they done goofed. They made a gigantic mistake, similar to Gary Gensler. You know that if you actually help people and inform them and work with them, nice things happen for both sides. The country gets taxes, the country gets richer, the country learns about the brand new financial system. But when you go after the people who are trying to help you and work in your country, do you expect anyone to believe this? You think that people are going to rush to Nigeria to do business after the largest, Binance is the largest crypto exchange on the planet, after one of their executives was locked up because you guys wanted $3 million? Who in their literal right mind would ever? Even crazier, you can go to Switzerland, you can go to Portugal, you can go to Germany, have 0% taxes. You can go to Hong Kong, you can go to Singapore, you can go to South Korea, you can go to the Philippines, you can go to Thailand, you can go to Japan. Latin America also has like favorable, you can go to Brazil. Listen, how many of those countries have taken a crypto executive and then said, hey, yeah, we'll let them go if you give us $3 million. Quiz time. None of them. I know, crazy, right? Insane. In a recent interview, Idris clarified that the legal action against Binance is not a blanket crackdown on the entire sector. He said many crypto businesses operate in Nigeria without facing litigation or persecution. This is part of our effort to strengthen regulations, not stifle innovation. Well, guess what you did? You done stifled it, because I'm certain, now I'm saying this in a nice way, a very nice way. I'm going to assume that the other businesses in operation there don't bring in the revenue that Binance did or would. Yeah, probably not, right? Because they're the biggest crypto exchange on the planet. How absolutely insane. In February 2025, Nigeria filed an $1.5 billion lawsuit against Binance, accusing the exchange of contributing to the country's fiat currency's devaluation. Maybe I'm not dumb enough. My brain can't wrap itself around the fact that someone said this out loud. This man thought by saying these words, people will go, no, wait, oh, now therefore, guys, we're moving over there immediately. Are you? What? This might be the craziest thing I think I've ever read in my entire life. Do you want to know how to make sure that no money ever re-enters your country? you do this. Not only did they ask for $3 million to free someone, they then said, okay, now you owe us $81 billion. You didn't even know how to do corruption properly. You can't even do corruption properly. It's insane. It doesn't make any sense. $81 billion for what exactly? Even the SEC, this is crazy. When you get to paint Gary Gensler in a positive light, do you remember after all those years, the SEC, because of Gary Gensler, asked Ripple for a fee? It was $3 billion. $3 billion from the US SEC. On what stupid planet do you think you're getting $81.5 billion from Binance? In what way do you think that this won't spread around? There's maybe like 7 gigantic crypto exchanges. You think anyone's gonna, what? I don't understand it. I just can't. You had the opportunity of a generation, of a multi-generation. There's only one Bitcoin that was created. Bitcoin's been around for 15 years. You had the last 10 to 15 years to get this right. And instead you got it wrong thrice. Oh boy, I really don't understand. The devaluation of your currency was not because of Binance. It was because of you. You keep printing it. You are corrupt. You keep taking the money and giving it to only the rich people. What a literal world that we live in. I saw that. No, like really, I couldn't believe it. Because it just doesn't make any sense. It's so out of the realm of like, did you really think about it? Imagine, I can't even think of a thing. I was thinking of Dunkin' Donuts for some reason. I don't know how that got into my head, but it doesn't make any sense. Anyway, so cool. The countries that have regulations and are actively working with these companies. And it's not even that people aren't explicitly asking for a 0% tax. They just want, literal kindness. Work with them. This is all brand new for everyone. Your first thought was, let's be as corrupt as possible and then give me $81 billion. Oh my gosh, like the levels of stupidity are so intense. It's really crazy. This should have never been a thing. Nigeria should have been the #1 country in Africa, like dominating the space. When we talk about the US, South Korea, and Japan, it should be also Nigeria in there as well. Nigeria has 35,000 people in their country working on blockchain and Bitcoin. They have the largest mining farm of anyone, anywhere, all over Africa. Whew, what a life to be a time. You know what? I think that's going to do it for this video. Because I'm constantly shocked by people and things around the world. You think that you couldn't be, but sometimes you sit there and you're like, are they serious? It's kind of like, what was the other country? This was like 3 or 4 years ago. It wasn't France. There was some country who announced that, we're finally going to start taxing crypto. And everyone was expecting a 12% tax, maybe a 20. They said like 54%. And I was like, planes exist, right? People will just fly to another country that has a 10% or a 0% tax. Like what? Oh boy. Well, I hope you all enjoyed. Hope you all are having a great day. Morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are, wherever you might be. I do hope it's absolutely fantastic. We live in the dumbest timeline. Thank you all once again for watching, listening, liking, commenting, and supporting. And I will most certainly be talking to you all soon. See you.